I'm very pleased to welcome Bruce Fessier back to the program. The UK Metro in UK called you the expert on the Coachella Valley, so you are now internationally known.
Yes, right. Internationally known as a local expert.
But you're also, I mean, you've covered this festival for 23 plus years.
Yes, since 1999.
The Desert Sun, the Palm Springs Life, you're working with Joshua Tree Voice. You went first weekend, and I saw online a lot of your impressions. I wanted to bring you back because I wanted you to share those with our viewers, but also to kind of preview what's coming up in the second weekend as we approach that, because they're not identical. They're similar, but never identical.
Right. Yeah, I mean, the festival has changed so dramatically over the years, and I kind of expected it to be this reunion and excitement that the pandemic is over, things are back to normal, and maybe it would even be a celebration. But it didn't feel that. It just felt like it was a logical progression from past festivals. I mean, you can see the commercial aspects a little more this year. You can see the social consciousness. They have a program called GV Black that is basically a think tank to allow them to figure out how to make this more accessible to blacks, indigenous people, and people of color. And they have greater access on accessibility for the disabled. You know, so you see these little incremental changes, but on the whole, the mystique is still there.
Talk about the artistry this year in comparison to years past.
Are you talking about the installation art, you mean, or the
music
itself?
The music itself.
Well, there's this sense that people have that it's more about pop, because Harry Styles is the opening night act, and he's a little bit more rock and rollish than you might expect, but at the same time, I didn't think he was quite ready for the main Coachella stage. His act wasn't as taut as you might expect. But at the same time, Billie Eilish on Saturday night, she was just really connecting to her audience. Her last album was created with live performance in mind. And so she has these very intimate songs, but she takes a crane and puts herself over the audience. So she's singing down to individuals. Wow. And you know especially that people like Sinatra and Morgana King, you know, their specialty was making you feel like they're singing directly to you.
And so
Billie Eilish was doing that.
I heard that Danny Elfman did an incredible set.
Well, it was an interesting mix of his soundtracks and a few Oingo Boingo songs. You know, it was a good set. It wasn't one of my top 5, but it was one that I really wanted to see.
And real quickly, what were the crowds like in comparison to years previous?
Well, the traffic flow inside the festival was great. They spent so much time on that. Friday night, the traffic flow outside of the festival was a nightmare. You know, I mean, I spent an hour and a half just stuck in traffic, and in some parking lots it was up to 4 hours. So, you know, but it was on the whole, you know, it didn't feel as crowded as it has. And Arcade Fire, which was one of my favorite acts, they were in a tent, and yet the tent was not overflowing. It was an indication that there's a very young audience out there. Their Suburbs album was over 10 years ago, you know, 2011. Yeah.
Well, Bruce, I always really appreciate your insights. You're the guy that doesn't know on this. And so, folks, that's the takeaway from weekend 1 to set you up for weekend 2. Thanks for coming on and sharing your
My
expertise.
pleasure, Patrick. Thank you.